Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Weather on the Go. Hope everybody had a great Father's Day weekend out there. I did take a trip up to Wisconsin, so I did not publish any videos here, any weather forecast videos here these past few days over the weekend. But I am back now here. Happy Monday morning, everybody. And we got a little bit to talk about here in this video. We got a few days here of severe weather here today, tomorrow, and as we head into our Wednesday, we also have kind of another week full of eventful weather here with kind of a transition from a more amplified jet stream to more of a here zonal flow across here the United States, and also still the remainder of the heat wave will continue as we head through the better part of the rest of June, and then kind of looking at the active tropics, especially across the eastern Pacific here as we head through this video as well. So thank you for coming back and tuning in here. We do have a lot of severe weather expected, especially as we head into the northern plains. As we head into late this afternoon and into this evening, the Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 outlook has a slight risk of severe weather across portions of the Dakotas, getting into northern Nebraska there, eastern Montana, northeastern Wyoming, into portions of western and northwestern portions there of Minnesota here as we head into today, mainly for wind and hail. Not expecting much in the way of tornadoes, but you definitely cannot rule out an isolated tornado in these areas. So kind of looking closer at the setup today, we have temperatures rising well into the 90s ahead of this front. We got temperatures in the 60s and 70s behind the front into the southern Canada, portions here of the western Dakotas, into Montana here and portions of Wyoming. But as we head into the afternoon, we have all that moisture pooling up ahead of this front here in the low levels. We have dew points well into the 60s, even some lower to middle 70s across portions of southern Minnesota, getting into northwest Iowa, and that will provide the fuel or CAPE, a convective available potential energy or instability as we call it, with these yellows showing instability of 3,000 joules per kilogram. You got these these red colors here, 4,000. So a lot of instability growing in this area as we head into this afternoon, and that will provide the fuel for these thunderstorms as we head through the day with that damaging wind and that hail risk here as well, with maybe even an isolated tornado, but the tornado threat does seem rather low. So as we head through the morning hours today, maybe some showers here, some scattered showers, maybe an embedded thunderstorm or two across the Dakotas. These will fade away and actually start to re-intensify potentially in the eastern Dakotas as we head into mid-afternoon. A renewed area of some showers and storms definitely expected to kind of initiate across far western Dakotas and especially back here into portions of Montana, northeastern Wyoming. And this will really start to push to the east as we head toward the dinner time frame into early this evening. And this will really start to grow upscale into a kind of a QLCS line where we could have some embedded surges of some damaging winds with some of these bowing structures along the leading edge of this line. Also, maybe here a spin-up tornado cannot be ruled out here. Maybe some pretty large hail as well, especially as you get down into the higher Cape across South Dakota and maybe getting into northern Nebraska, so that will be something to watch. We have some storms reigniting across northwestern Minnesota, maybe some big hailers up there as well with some damaging wind potential, so definitely something to watch. But as this QLCS line starts to race eastward, we could have that damaging wind risk here focusing through the early to late to the late evening hours into the early overnight hours as we head across Minnesota, maybe arriving into northwestern Wisconsin in that marginal risk zone as we head into the overnight hours here as the damaging wind threat kind of crosses through eastern Dakotas, through much of Minnesota, through the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, and pushing into northwestern Wisconsin here during the overnight hours. Also here showing some showers and storms along the international border between Canada and the Dakotas here and the portions of Montana here in the United States. Could have some renegade showers and storms up there here, rather non-severe, but you can't rule out an isolated stronger storm here post-frontal across these areas. And then these showers will kind of spin around across portions of southern Canadian prairies, kind of getting into northwestern North Dakota, northeastern Montana during the early morning hours on your Tuesday. But generally here over the next 12 hours or so, 12 to 24 hours, can expect rainfall pockets of half inch to upwards of 2 inches of rainfall across a good chunk of the Dakotas, especially as you get up into northeastern South Dakota, much of North Dakota, and then across north-central Minnesota as well, some pretty decent rains around the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, getting up here into portions here of the Arrowhead of Minnesota. Some pretty decent rainfall can be expected here over the next, 12 to 24 hours. As we head towards your Tuesday, we do have another marginal risk of severe weather here with a somewhat of an active pattern continuing across the northern United States on the northern periphery of all this heat and humidity across the southeast and the south. We got another marginal risk with a frontal zone starting to come in here, a weak cold front across portions here of southern Wisconsin, northwestern Illinois, into portions of eastern and southern Iowa, getting into northern Missouri and portions of northeast Kansas. This does include portions near Rockford, Illinois, Madison, Wisconsin, getting down around the Quad Cities here in Iowa, Iowa City here, and then getting down towards portions of Kansas City as well, and Kirksville, Missouri, as we head towards, your Tuesday time frame. Mainly a damaging wind and hail risk. Again, not seeing any, big tornado outbreaks or anything like that. And really, honestly, the cold front here coming in pretty weak. It's going to have a lot of the dynamics ahead of it. But we're not going to have a lot of lift or convergence. So even the question marks around the marginal risk here is still there as well as we head into your Tuesday. Like I said, with all this heat and humidity building up across these areas in the low to mid, even upper 90s potentially ahead of this weak cool front, we definitely could have a little bit of buoyancy start to, increase as we head through the day, a little bit of instability and destabilization. You got all this low-level moisture here sitting around, pooling ahead of this cold front here in the mid to even upper 70s in some spots here as we head towards late Tuesday afternoon, and then that will start to yield some pretty decent values, some moderate to strong instability here in Cape values around 3,000 to near 4,000 joules per kilogram, centered on especially eastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, getting down through Kansas City area, maybe even into northwestern Illinois as well. Here, I did want to note, though, this model is going all out on a pretty decent here setup for some severe weather as we head in towards your Tuesday evening. But I do want to also note that a lot of the other models, the HRRR, the RAP, the RAP model, all these models are not really showing anything too substantial, and that is just due to the lack of lift across this cold front. So that will just have to be something we'll have to watch over the next 12 to 24 hours to see what happens. But late Tuesday afternoon, got a couple of showers developing across southwestern Wisconsin, northeastern Iowa, and then here this model in particular, the NAMNIS model, is starting to show some storms, maybe some isolated supercells developing across, portions of Dubuque, Iowa, getting in toward the Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin area, down through Iowa City, maybe a couple storms down into Kansas, and then this really blows up into kind of an upscale growing, MCS or line that kind of develops into northern Illinois, into portions of eastern Iowa, and then getting back toward the Kansas City area, maybe some strong wind gusts along that, some heavy rain, some heavy rainfall, some frequent lightning, some hail potential here. Still not looking at a tornado threat here. The low-level shear is just not there supportive of tornadoes. But then this will start to fall southward toward that ridge. But as it does, it'll slow because this ridge is very strong to the south, so it'll kind of lose its luster as it pushes to the south and kind of fade away as with all that here, more stable air across in the high pressure system to the south, kind of suppressing the convection as you head towards Wednesday morning. Maybe some isolated thunderstorms left over into the Wednesday morning time frame here and towards the Kansas City area. But just in general here over the next couple of days, you can expect some decent rainfall across maybe northern Illinois, northern Missouri, southern and eastern Iowa, getting into west central Illinois, and then back toward the Kansas City area around northeastern Kansas. If these storms do develop, you could have, rainfall amounts between an inch to maybe an inch and a half or an inch and 3/4 here if you get under some heavier thunderstorms here as we head toward that Tuesday night into Wednesday morning time frame. Then as we head towards Wednesday, there's another marginal risk of severe weather. The Day 3 outlook the Storm Prediction Center's put out from portions of New York State, getting down through much of Pennsylvania, the Ohio Valley here, stretching back towards portions here of downstate Illinois, near the Paducah area, getting down through portions of Indianapolis, Columbus, getting up towards Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and getting into portions there of, far northern West Virginia as well on your Wednesday. Then as we look further here, towards the end of June, the next 6 to 10 days or so, around June 25th through the 29th timeframe, going toward the closing days and closing timeframe in June, you can expect above normal temperature-wise across the deep south here into portions of the Ohio Valley, northeast, and much of the Midwest. You got another ridge starting to develop across portions of the west coast, getting into the southwest. Where you got that monsoon weather, you can expect near normal or slightly below normal temperatures expected here as well. So that will be something to watch here as well, with a lot of that above normal precipitation centered on especially here the Four Corners, and especially really even into New Mexico. I'll show you that here in just a moment. But underneath that ridge, you're expecting more slightly below normal precipitation around there. And in the portions here of the Pacific Northwest, not expecting much rain toward the end of June. Maybe a little pocket of above normal precipitation here from the Carolinas and Georgia up towards the mid-Atlantic and portions of the Northeast here, the closing days of June, but nothing too substantial rain-wise here. A lot of, plenty of dry hours definitely can be expected. Shifting our attention toward that monsoon weather here as we head towards this evening, you got some pop-up showers and storms that'll move northward across Arizona, especially into New Mexico here, and this will really start to amplify as we head towards Tuesday night. Pretty decent soaking rains with some scattered showers and storms across portions of eastern and southern Arizona, getting across much of New Mexico around the Albuquerque area, and then getting up into southern portions there of Colorado. And over the next couple of days, you can definitely expect here upwards of an inch of rain, 1 to 2 inches, maybe even locally 3 inches of rain could be expected, especially on the New Mexico side of things, getting into southern portions there of Colorado and far southeastern portions there of Arizona. Maybe some pockets of an inch of rain can be expected with that monsoonal weather really centered around central New Mexico. So that'll be something good for those areas that have been just drought stricken here across, especially New Mexico, with that severe, that extreme and exceptional drought. Definitely something to monitor. Also, as we head through the week as well into your Monday afternoon here, you can see the jet stream is very amplified here with that large ridge here centered around the middle of the country. That will turn more zonal here. We'll have more of a Pacific type of air mass here with kind of a more progressive pattern as we head toward the middle of this week, and that will only continue probably even beyond next weekend here. A pretty, benign weather pattern. We're not seeing anything huge, big old troughs coming in or big old ridges, kind of more of a, heat to the south, slightly cooler to the north here, but just generally across much of the country expecting just normal, typical summer type pattern here. Yes, some records might be broken across Texas, maybe Florida, some of the south here, but really overall not seeing anything too significant. Over the next 7 days, you can definitely expect some pretty hefty rainfall amounts with that monsoon weather across New Mexico, getting into Colorado, eastern Arizona, and then some pockets of some clusters of storms here across the northern plains, getting into the upper Midwest, and then kind of diving around that ridge into the Northeast. Maybe some active weather in Florida as well, with some heavier rain over the next few days, but the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast, and then across the deep south here into the southern plains, underneath that ridge of high pressure, you're not going to see a lot of rainfall, so it's continued dry weather, and that heat will still be on. We got temperatures all the way up into the 100-degree mark, all the way up to the Minnesota and the southern portions there of Canada as we head towards this afternoon. Tomorrow, with that cold front starting to kind of sag down southward, will suppress that warmth and heat more to the south, but still some hundreds being expected, a lot of 90s out there. And that will kind of continue as we head toward the middle of the week, although the hundreds will be more common across the southeast toward the southern plains. Still some 80s and 90s up in the Midwest, so still some summer-like warmth to enjoy the pool out there, some outdoor activities. That'll be here something to do toward the middle of the week here as well. Also, kind of looking forward, this was released here before I left for my trip to Wisconsin, and it is showing signs of a developing drought or a flash drought, a drought that kind of develops very quickly here across the Illinois Valley, getting down to the western Tennessee Valley, portions here of Dixie Alley here, where you can see just quick drought conditions develop here across the area, and that's what's called a flash drought or a rapid drought development across these areas, and that can be expected, especially if you have a lot of dry weather continuing for weeks and weeks on end. You got a lot of that evaporation rate this time of year starting to increase. You got a lot of a higher sun angle here. The longest days of the year starting here as we have summer as we head into tomorrow is the first day of summer solstice. I'll also be releasing a new summer forecast video as we head to tomorrow, a full official summer forecast video. So do stay tuned to that. But then you see off to the west where the monsoon continues, drought removal is possible, or if not, likely in some of these spots, and maybe even improving. So that is something to look forward to across these areas. Also, some improving drought across the southeast as well. So that is something to note. But I did want to note the potential for a flash drought or like a rapid drought development across these areas. And some of these areas are already abnormally dry, so that is something to monitor. Still got that pretty extreme and exceptional drought across portions here of New Mexico and much of the southwest here, still drought stricken. Texas is worsening with that drought, especially with all those daily highs in the 90s and 100s. hundreds across those areas. Then looking down here to the tropics, we got two systems watching. We're watching Tropical Storm Blas here, which is really rapidly decreasing in intensity here. This will be a tropical depression here very shortly. We also got here a system named Celia as we head towards the southern Mexican coast, kind of on its heels. This one will be shifting off to the west-northwest here as well. We'll show you Blas first. This one here by our Tuesday, Tuesday morning here, going to be probably a tropical depression here any hour now. This thing is really rapidly weakening here in intensity, moving to the west at 5 miles an hour. Maximum sustained wind of 40 miles per hour, so a very, very, very low-grade tropical storm, and this will continue to weaken as it moves over cooler waters here to the west. And then looking to the south, this is going to be a pretty decent storm here starting out. We have a tropical depression here, Celia, as we head towards portions here off the southern Mexican coast. This will stay a depression likely through the day on Tuesday, at least into the morning hours. But as we head towards Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, into Wednesday morning, this could strengthen to a tropical storm and then eventually probably a Category 1 hurricane, potentially as we head towards that Wednesday night into Thursday time frame and then extending all the way through next weekend. So that will be something to watch. But this largely does look to remain off to the west here of Mexico again under the open waters, but still some rip currents, maybe some waves from the storm as potential, especially if it strengthens into a stronger tropical storm or hurricane towards the late next week or late this week into the weekend. So that will be something to watch. And largely off to the west as well with those stronger wind gusts. The probability of the stronger winds are expected to be offshore largely across the off to the west of Mexico, and it's got some warmer waters to strengthen here. You're not going to see deep strengthen rapid strengthening because there's not a lot of deep water heat in the water, but we do have a lot of cooler waters here starting to develop across this area with these recent active period. So that'll be something to watch. But the cooler waters will kind of favor more of a weakening trend, and that's kind of what Blas is going through right now. Celia, once it gets into these cooler waters, may start to weaken as well, but that won't be till beyond here this upcoming weekend. So we'll just have to monitor that. Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to like my video here. Give me a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions below. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and please help me out to get to 200 subscribers. That is greatly appreciated. And also, like I said, tomorrow I will be releasing my official summer forecast here of 2022 and maybe even looking into early fall here, kind of a preview of that as well, and a lot more during that video as we head into our Tuesday summer solstice tomorrow. So thank you very much for watching. And